Hey, and welcome back. Wanted to do another quick Q&A kind of video. Again, another question I get a lot is, why I do what I do and what's my background and what's my experience. So, for those of you who don't know me, I wanted to do a little of that, talk about my history and some of my experience both in public safety and as a photographer. So I get a lot of questions about, was I ever a firefighter or any of that? And the answer is, yeah, a long time ago. I started out like a lot of folks as a volunteer when I was 16, and then when I turned 18, went on to full service. I actually did it as a part-time firefighter for a while. This was up north with a local volunteer department, and did it for a couple of years. Really enjoyed it. After college, continued doing it. I worked for 2 different departments, but a couple of years after getting out of school, I made the jump over to law enforcement, and I became a police officer, and ended up doing most of my career in law enforcement. That was both up north and after I moved down to the Carolinas. I worked for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. One of my jobs at the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department was running the crime scene unit and the photography unit. And that's where I got sort of back into photography. I've always been interested in photography. Remember, this is back in the film days, so it's a little bit different. But taking pictures has always been something I enjoyed doing, and had a pretty good understanding of it. And then when I went to the department, obviously taking photographs was key, or one of the primary elements of our mission. So I had the opportunity to work with some really great photographers and some great crime scene folks, and again, sort of rekindled that interest in taking pictures, and I did that for a couple of years. After I left the department, I moved over to higher ed. I actually had an opportunity to go teach at Central Piedmont Community College. They were looking for someone who could teach crime scene and the investigative classes and things like that, and it seemed like a great idea to me. So I made that move over, and I spent the next 15 years teaching criminal justice, but primarily law enforcement, investigative related, including a photography class. I did teach, investigative photography for years there. So that's sort of my background in public safety. That's where the interest comes from. As I continued at the college, I rose up a little and actually ended up running all the public safety programs for a while. So I had the opportunity to get out and meet and work with a lot of the area departments, and sort of rekindled that interest. So you sort of wrap those all up together. As I was getting close to retirement, I decided I wanted to keep somewhat involved, and photography seemed like a good way to do it. It's something I'm interested in, something I was pretty good at, and so I have continued on. One of the things when people ask me about why I do this, I take the pictures. Obviously, it's an interest, but the other thing is, I spent 20 years in law enforcement, and 5 or 6 years as a firefighter. I even part of my responsibility as a firefighter was being an EMT. Back when we first created EMTs, when I first started riding on an ambulance, you just had to have advanced first aid. And then, like I said, in the 70s and 80s, they started requiring EMT, and I got certified as an EMT, and actually really enjoyed that. But one of the things that, in all that time of doing that job, I have very few pictures of me doing those jobs or in uniform or anything like that. I have a few, and that was because there were people around who were interested in taking pictures, and that's a big part of it now. I like sharing the photos when I get to take pictures of the men and women who do this job. I try and share it with those folks or their families if they want to see them. But it's nice 20 years later to be able to look back and see what's happening. And I've showed you a couple of the photos as we go through this video. But that's really, you saw about all of them, and I just didn't have them. So this is a nice way I can kind of give back to. So I know the men and women seem to enjoy it. So that's one of the reasons that I'm out there taking the pictures that I do. So between the 20 years in law enforcement and working as a volunteer and then a part-time firefighter and the EMT and teaching in the college, teaching investigative courses, that's how I got to where I am today. And again, just I like being able to show off and share the work that goes on out there. I know how hard this job is or that job is. I don't do it anymore. I know how hard it is. And like I said, I like to be able to show that off. So that's why I'm doing it now. So there you go. Hopefully that was interesting or entertaining or not totally awful. You learned a little bit more about me and why I do what I do. So again, I'm going to be answering more questions, hopefully a little more photography related is where I want to go. So that is the intent. I'm planning on a couple of videos about taking pictures, taking better pictures, about purchasing cameras or you know, upping your equipment, if you will. Those are sort of in the works, and I hope to have those out soon. So that's it for now. Thanks for listening. As always, you know, like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you again soon in another video. Thanks. Bye.